Hey everyone, once again welcome back. In the previous video we learned that how to authenticate the user using API tokens, right? Now the time is to the work on the authorization stuff, that how we can authorize the user if he is logged in, right? Okay, so let's close all of the stuff here. Comes the authorization, and when comes the authorization, you can use gates to authorize the user, you can use middleware, you can use policies, right? And I'm going to use gate and policies, right? So in this case I'm not going to use gate, I'm going to use policies. Why? Because gate is responsible for one or two actions, right? If you have a full CRUD, like in this case we have in the task controller we have collection of routes like index, store, we have all resource route, so we are going to use the policies. The only difference is policies is responsible for full resource and gate is responsible for only fewer helpers, right? Okay, so first we need to create the policy. So how to create the policy? The command is pretty identical, make policy and then specify its name with the suffix of policy. PHP artisan, let me make this okay. PHP artisan. And by the way guys, I'm shooting this full course in a single time, right? I started it from around 5 5 p.m. and now it's 7 p.m. and I'm shooting this in the sequence. I'm not stopping this out, and I will shoot this full course till API token, and then I will shoot the further for the SPA authentication. And it's an make policy. Okay, and I'm going to create the task policy because I want to try the task and to add the suffix policy. So why I'm adding this policy? Because I'm following the conventions of Laravel. If you will follow the Laravel convention, you don't need to manually do the stuff, you don't need to register your policy into the provider. Okay, our policy is created successfully, and if I go here, okay, where it is, it's this one, right? And if I go here in the service provider, there is a service provider where you need to register your policies, right? So how do you need to register your policies? You need to register this task class, and then you need to assign this task policy like this, right? But we are following the Laravel convention, so we don't need to add this out here, so Laravel will detect this automatically, right? That's is the beauty of following the Laravel convention, and I love the Laravel. That's why I'm calling myself as a Laravel lover. Okay, so there is a policy. This one is a policy. Okay, in the policy, if I'm going to remove this, so delete this policy now, because I want to create the policy for the task. So mention this task here. So then it will create the policy for the. Okay, let me move this model task like this, and yes, it's created. And if I visit this out now, so it's now created the view any view, and it's now created the standard route, so standard helper for the policy, right? So these are the standards helpers which comes by default with the policy. Okay, view any is responsible for viewing all the tasks, right? Okay, so here this one is responsible for viewing all of the tasks. We have a user object, right? And we can and now accept the other this like this user and task. So we can make this that if in the task we have a user ID, so it's mean that this task is assigned to a specific user. If it doesn't match, so we are not going to display the user task. So first let me prepare the scenario and then I'm coming back to you. And here I think I need to clone this and create this with the authorization, or we can say that only specific one. Let me clone this out. Okay, clone this out to duplicate web, copy, and here I'm going to made this for the web authorization, right? And here in the index method, close this out, and here let me close this out, and in the index method we are viewing all of the tasks, right? But now we want to display only those tasks which are only relevant to the logged in user, right? So we are going to create a new controller here, API, and we did a little missing thing that we didn't edit this these controller into the v1 directory. We added this here in the v1, but we are forgot to add this into the v2. So I'm going to now not use the previous controller. I'm going to create the new controllers, right? And I'm going to add this into the v2 directory, right? So copy these, and in the controller, in the API, I'm going to create a v2. I'm going to copy all of these ones, copy, and then paste them into this one, right? Pasted them here, and also I'm going to add this v1 here. So I'm going to now, okay, why I'm unable to add this? Oh my god, it's did this wrong. So let me roll back. No, I don't want to add this like this. v2. Okay, and now I want to create another directory, v1, right? So I'm going to copy these one, cut these one, and add them into the v2. Why it's not cutting this out? And here I'm going to paste them the v1. The v2 is still not this. Let me cut them from here and add them into the v2. What the hell is this? Why it's not this out to v1 contain login, logout, and also it should be contain the task. Basically I'm guys cloning these into v1 and v2. There's nothing else, right? So here new v2 login controller, logout, register, task controller. So cut them and paste them into this v2. And yes, v2 contain these controller and v1 contain these controller. So in the v1 here I'm going to just add the add my path here. It should be the v1, and also add this for the other one, v1, this for the here v1, add this for the here v1, and also add this v2 here, v2. Okay, basically guys I'm separating those separating the existing logic. I cloned this and now I'm creating another resource. Okay, and also let's close all of the one, and in the API also here after this, so API add this v1 slash like this, right? So now all of the existing route will work. If I go here and on the routes, and yes, it's working fine. It's unauthenticated, but it's working fine. Okay, so now this one in the v2, right? V2 all the task. It says unable to find because we have not created yet. Okay, and let me this out, and here I'm going to now add this. So like basically I added this, so without this v1. So let me sorry guys, first I need to structure this to not to override this logged in, right? Because we are going to use again login and register. So I'm going to add there and apply the middleware separately, right? So here I'm not going to add this middleware at the top. I'm going to only apply on this, so this route and on this route, right? And these both are just only reuse this v1, not the other things, right? Everything is same. I just added this v1, so they will also use this v1 slash register. So I need to also go there here in the register. I need to also type this v1 slash register v1 slash login and v1 slash logout, v1 slash logout. And if I, yes, it's them. Okay, now this web 1 is working fine, and now let's move here to the web 2, and here I added this web 2 task. And if I send this request, says route 2 is not defined because I haven't created yet. So simply copy this, paste it here, change this to v2, right? And what else would be changed is this task controller, these controllers, right? So here I'm going to name them separately, like if I go here and copy all of these from here, I'm going to add them like this, and then this would be the v2 like this, v2. And here we can say that version v2 login controller, right? And we can use this like okay here guys, how we can rename this to another one, like I did this here. So also do this, so v2 logout controller. Sorry guys, it's little bit confusing for you because I messed up these things, but these are simple things, right? Due to my single mistake, I need to work a lot, right? So that's why I'm always mentioning that always follow these things, otherwise you will face a lot of issues. Task controller. Okay, so v2 login controller, v2 login controller, v2 register controller, v2 v2, right? So it's now opening this v2, right? And if I open this out now here, unauthenticated, and let's go to the v2 controller, and here I'm going to just return that I am returning from v2. My god, save this one guys, send this request, and still unauthenticated because we are accessing the authenticated route, right? So that's why it's behaving like this. But if I go and remove this middleware, it will pass this request. Yes, I'm returning from the v2. So it means that let me overcap this. What I did this, I simply add this into the v1 directory. I did all of the controllers which I created in the previous videos, added them into the v1 directory. I cloned this directory and named this v2 and changed their namespace at the top here in the controllers, and also did this in the here routes. And why I named this like this, because we cannot use this same name in the route, so that's why I renamed this like this, right? Okay, so here it will use now it's returning the all task, right? But I don't want to get these all tasks. I want to get those tasks which belongs to only the logged in user. So how to do this? So simply first to get the user here, request, and then user like this. And then here before the paginate you can pass this. So where the user id is user id like this. It will find only tasks where the user id is this user logged in user id, right? And if you don't have any requests, so just use this global request like this. Okay, so it will return the collection of those routes which belongs to only the logged in user, and now our user isn't logged in, right? It will return anything. Good, right? Let me log in this user here, body, and here I'm going to log in the contact at serial, send this request. API login couldn't be found. Okay, it should be v2 v2 slash login, send this request, and yes, it's returned the token, right? So I'm going to store this token here. Let me override this with the existing one. This one is a token, and now I will use this token to return all of the task of this user, right? So close this login request, and here it's still returning the unauthenticated, right? Now I'm going to pass the bearer token here. Bearer token, move the existing one, paste the new one, and here I'm going to send the request, right? And I'm logged in as contact at if I go here, then contact at cdl, this one 6 user, right? And if I find the 6 user task, there is no task belong to this 6 user, so let me assign this task to 6 user, right? So here let's send this request, and yes, it's returned Miss Gilbert this result, right? If I add this another record here, so to return two tasks which belongs to this user, and yes, now it's returning the two task, right? In this way you can return the tasks which are only logged in the user, right? But here we use this, and how we can make sure that this one for example, if the different user is logged in, this user cannot access other user task, right? So how to make sure this thing? So then policies comes and solve our issue, right? So we will say that this will be catered in the properly visible in the show method, right? So let me go to the show method, and then I will tell you that what I want to highlight. So here in the show method, my user is now returned here, and I want to return here the task. Here I want to return the task where, okay, where the user ID belongs to this user ID, right? And then I will return this first, right? So it will check the login user and then return the task, right? So now let's visit the show route, add this v2 here, send this request, and let me pass the headers here, accept to JSON, and yes, unauthenticated because we need to pass the bearer token, right? And copy this, yes, is out, send this request, and it will return the no query made for this 6, right? We don't have any task which belong to this 6, there is only 5. So let me add the 5, and yes, the this one is now, let me do this here. Mhm. Okay, so now this user, which user, let me open this into the new tab. Okay, this contact at CDL, it means that this Dayat Niazi is which value is which ID is 6 is accessing this 5 task, and this one is a user Dayat Niazi task, so he can access this task. But if I visit this one task which doesn't belong to this 6 user, so what happened? So I'm going to add this one, send this request, and yes, I'm still able to access this route, which is not good as a security purposes. So how to validate this thing?